Hi guys, it is a special week in Infinite Magic Raid because today marks the beginning, the first day of the anniversary. And throughout this week, I'll be dropping some videos that could help you either specifically with the anniversary or with the content currently going on in the game. So, this is Elemental City, normal stage 65. This way you fight the single target boss, the boss that only takes damage from basic attacks. Yes, so if you are fighting this boss and you see that your active skills are not doing that well, maybe you are using the wrong kind of attack because against this boss you need to focus on basic attacks. Why? You get 4 times more damage on your basic attacks. So generally, no matter how powerful your active attacks are, your basic attacks are going to do more for you. So you see that against the first wave and second wave of bosses, what you want to do is to first of all use your shields. So you can see that I use my Catherine's shield and counter attack. Then I use Nordak's shield and counter attack. You can see that even my Nordak is actually just zero fusion. Not sorry, not zero fusion, zero exclusives. I'm mixing up my games now. So Nordak is zero exclusive, so I don't have the more OP characteristics as many people might have. But you don't need to have Nordak at E3 or even E1 or even E2 to make progress. You just have to manage your skills properly. So like I said, the first thing you need to do is use your shield. Then on your second turn, you will use your immunity to damage. Another tip I'm going to leave for you guys, especially with respect to fighting against these scorpions. You can see those two scorpions at the right. When you're fighting those guys, don't apply any debuff on them other than the regular dot debuff. The reason for that is that if you use any normal debuff, like maybe attack down, speed down, resistance down, and all of that, they will get extra turns. They'll get extra turns against your team, and trust me, those extra turns they hit very hard. The only time it is okay, like in this case, to use any debuff against them, like feeble, like any kind of debuff, like even block debuff. The only time it is okay to use any debuff against them is when you have damage immunity, because no matter how many times they hit you, they're not going to be able to touch you. So that's for the sub bosses, specifically those scorpions. Don't use debuff against them unless you have immunity on your characters. Always focus your debuffs on other characters. But you can use dot debuffs. So you can use your HP burn, you can use your poison damage, and all of that. Now, when it comes to this boss, one thing you should do is that save your shields for when he doesn't have his own shield up. Right now, he doesn't have his own shield up. Now he's going to be able to take damage. But one thing is that at this point, his speed is zero, which means no matter how many dots you have stacked on him, it's not going to count. He's doing something more like counter attack damage at this point, so he's not going to be able to take any dot damage from you. And you can see that right now his shield is back up. So at this point in my match, I have three shielders. I have Albek, I have Catherine, and I have Nordak. So what I usually do is that while this shield is up, I use only Albek's shield, because at this point he is attacking normally, so Abek's shield is enough to protect the team. But as soon as his own shield goes off, where he's not going to be taking turns anymore, he's going to be doing more like counter attack damage against you. At that point, you will now get to use Nordak's shield, you get to use a Catherine's shield, and of course use your damage immunity, use all of that. But don't waste damage immunity when he doesn't have his own shield. Like I made that mistake a lot. I was using my damage immunity, using everything. I noticed that he's going to be taking turns constantly when he doesn't have a shield, and he's just at speed 1. At this point where you are damaging him, his speed is at 1. He's not taking any turns. He's not taking any turns, trust me. So if he's not taking any turns, and he's just doing counter attack against you, then you are going to be taking a lot of damage. So like I said, save your major shield for when he is doing his counter attack. And when does he do his counter attack? He does his counter attack when his own shield is down. Number two, like I said earlier, focus on basic attacks, which is why in this match, Ben Austin is very, very important, especially if you don't have the more OP characters. Ben Austin is very important because Ben Austin will allow you to constantly do basics with his own active skills. So it works out a lot for you. Stacking dots here doesn't really do much for you, honestly, because like I said, it doesn't take too much turns in the match, and stacking dots will take too long. You can see Albek is doing 4 million on his basics because another my Albek is too strong. My Albek is not that strong. But the thing is that this guy is just taking so much more damage on his basics, and my Arbeck is built with about 60-70% crit rate. We will see the build guide at the end of the video. But yeah, Arbeck is not even that strong. Arbeck is just exclusive 0 as well. You can see my Nordak exclusive 0, Arbeck exclusive 0, and Hezonja is not going to do that much. Hezonja is just here for the waves. So you could use Hezonja. If you don't have Hezonja, you could use something like a Nita or any character that is good at clearing waves. But once it comes to this boss, Arbeck is going to be doing more of the damage for you. Then I know Hezonja is going to do some damage. He helps with the damage as well. But that basic attack damage that crits is coming from my Arbeck. So yeah, that is very important. You take note of those. Shield management is especially important. I think this boss, I fought him so many times. I've been fighting. I fought him over the weekend, and I only managed to beat him Sunday evening. So it took me 3 days to beat this boss. I had to try multiple combinations. I know there are other team setups that can help. There are other teams. I know Seth can help you in this match. I think even, of course, those that have the more OP, maxed out exclusive characters like Santa, so that even when your character dies, your character comes back. So there are a bunch of other characters that could help you in this match. You could check those, check other people's team suggestions and see which team matches you. But if you have something similar to this setup, it will work for you. It will take some time, but it will work for you. Like I said in the waves, use your shield on the first turn, then use Nordak's immunity on the second turn. It's very important to do that for the waves because of those scorpions. And of course, with those scorpions, don't apply any debuff. Don't apply feebleness. Don't apply attack down. Don't apply resistance down. Any other debuff that is not a dot debuff. Don't even stun them. That's another thing. I didn't even know controlled debuff also affects. So if you freeze them, they are going to unfreeze and hit you 3 times. If you stun them, they're going to get unstunned after the stun is over and still hit you 2 to 3 times. The same thing with hypnotize. So even control debuff against the scorpions, those are terrible as well, extremely terrible. You see this even block debuff from Ben Austin is also not advisable because it also counts as a debuff and it's also a non-dot debuff. So if you try to use Ben Austin to focus them, you are going to end up taking too much damage and you just see your characters dying constantly. Like, that is simply the difference. Applying the buff on them and not applying the buff for them. That's just the difference. Like I said, only dot debuff is advisable against those scorpions in the first and second wave. For this boss, yeah, it's quite straightforward. It's going to take some time. You can see that I got to total turns. I'm on turn 218. And before now, there was a turn I took that I got to 26 and I just lost all my characters. And of course, why did that happen? That was poor shield management. Shield management is important against this boss. Don't use all your shields when the boss has his own shield. When the boss has his own shield, use just one of your shields. Then when the boss doesn't have a shield, then go all in on all your shields because it's going to be doing counter attack and hitting you extremely hard. If you have characters that have wet debuff, the wet debuff is also going to help you against him because wet debuff reduces his basic damage by half, so he won't be doing too much damage against you. So like the new mythic that applies wet, very very good, and any other hidden wave character, I know there are a bunch of them that have that wet debuff. Anybody that has a high chance to apply wet will be good in this match to replace Arbeck. So you can just use any other direct damage dealer to replace Arbeck, then use one of those other characters that applies wet. And yeah, you see that we were able to do it. It took us, you see, 245 turns. Of course, like I said, my team is not the most OP team. My artifacts and equipments are not the most OP. But yeah, that's what I had, and I was successful at the end of the day. So let's check out the builds. Okay, let's take a quick look at the builds and stats I was working with for Nordak 586. 200, of course, the speed is important. You have to be faster than those sub bosses. So 2100 speed and above is important for Nordak, and also yeah, just a bunch of health, and that works. For Ben Austin, this is the build. Ben Austin wasn't faster than the sub bosses, but it could have been better if he were faster. But in this case, he wasn't. You can also take a screenshot of the emblems as you wish. This is my setup. Catherine, same thing, faster than the boss and also faster than the scorpions and the first wave, second wave. Yeah, because she has 2200 plus speed. So the two character speed you should focus on: Catherine, Nordak. I think the others decent enough speed will be okay. You see my Ibeck is just 1700 speed, but you can see his HP. I gave him some crit rate so that I can do damage. Yeah, and this is his emblem. You can take a screenshot of that as well. And for Hezonja Mastery Expert Aura, 486 speed, 486 health rather, effective mastery. My mastery is not even maxed, but yeah, it was enough to clear the waves. Anyways, yeah, that's about that. See you guys on the next one.